and welcome to Trying Times. My name's Carmen. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. If you've listened before and if you watched before, if you've been here before in any way, shape, or form, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you again and get to hang out for a little while. This episode is a little bit of a special one because it's all about birthdays. This is going up shortly after my birthday. So is it a little bit driven by myself? Is it a little self-centered? Sure. I love birthdays though. I get so excited for birthdays. And yeah, I'm technically when you're listening to this, mine has just passed, but I have gone on a trip for my birthday. I'm very excited about that. My sister and I have gone on a trip, so I'm celebrating this in a different way than I ever have before, which is really exciting. I don't know if I would technically say I've done 29 laps around the sun now, if I'm turning 29, or I've done 28 laps around the sun. I don't know which it is. I feel like it must be 29. Either way, I'm turning 29 years old. I am inching closer and closer to 30 day by day. And I know everybody makes it sound scary, and I'm cracking jokes about it right now and making it sound scary as well. But I think from what I've heard, they're supposed to be the best years of your life. That's what I've been told. So I'm gonna keep that energy and that momentum going as I approach that age and as I'm very much in that age. So yeah, I've said this before. If you see me looking down, if you're watching this video episode and you see me looking down, I am looking at my laptop because I have all my notes in front of me. So don't mind me just glancing at my screen every now and then, or more so just like glaring at my screen. Forgets the camera's there. I'm just glaring at my screen the whole time, and I'm just pretty much being an iPad kid this whole episode. But yeah, I feel like in my years, I've experienced a handful of trying times, if you will, every year. And sometimes that can be on birthdays, sometimes it can be other times. It can be overwhelming. I will say, every birthday I've had, I feel like I always want to be around people that I love or try to celebrate in some shape or form and just enjoy that. And for a while, I would do like a get together, like a birthday dinner with friends, and I don't know why I found it because, I will say this, coordinating plans and everyone's schedule stresses me out so bad because I just want everything to work out and be good. And if someone can't make it, then I feel bad. And I'm like, oh my God, how can I make this easier for them to be there? So I'm all over the place with that. So coordinating things for me isn't maybe the most peaceful activity, whereas I know there are people that really genuinely love doing that and probably work as like event coordinators or wedding planners or event planners of whatever sort of event someone's planning it and those people are good at it. Me, I buckle under pressure. I feel bad. If someone's unable to make it, I'm like, oh my God. Like the thing I'll do is I always, actually last year for my birthday, I think on my Instagram story, like on my close friend story, I shared a poll with two options of like two different dates of who could make it to which one. And I'm like, this is fair because I feel like it's giving everybody in the group a fair shot to be like, I can either come on this time, or maybe I could do either or. I think I put that as an option. Maybe, I don't know. But it's like a good way to get a feeler because as you're getting older, everybody has their own schedules, everybody's doing their own thing. It can be hard to plan, it can be hard to organize. It just can be a thing in itself. And I feel like that was probably the best way for me to do it that didn't involve starting like a group chat. And I loathe group chats. I don't like being put in group chats ever. Like I don't like getting all the all the notifications for it and all the things. So I put this out on my close friend story on Instagram. And I think out of like the maybe 10 to 15 people I'd invited or, had shown the story to, like, had added to my list. Oh my God. Out of the 10 to 15 people on my close friends list that I added intentionally to see this birthday invitation, I think probably like just over half could come. Like there were a few people that couldn't make it because they were not available on the more like favored date. And then that made me feel bad because I'm like, well, how can I make this easier for everybody else? Then it turns into a whole thing where I'm like, oh my God, like I just start stressing about everybody and I want everyone to have a good time. And then I forget to have a good time. And that's not to say that I don't, but I start to get nervous because I'm like, oh my God, I just want everyone to enjoy and to have fun and get to hang out and just like be chill. But I, in fact, am never chill about it because I want things to work out good. So I'll say in that I feel like I've experienced a handful of trying times every so often on my birthday because I just always want things to go good. And as I've gotten older, I feel like I just started to have lower expectations not necessarily like on other people, but on myself because I'm like, okay, what are you really gonna enjoy doing on this day? What do you really feel like doing? And I'll be so honest, last year was probably the first year I actually had to get together with friends on my birthday or just following my birthday. And I know, all jokes aside of like feeling guilty and bad and stress of planning, it was genuinely such a wonderful time. And it was so cool to have like so many of my close friends all in one room in one space, and some of who hadn't even met each other yet. So it was really exciting to get to see them interact and get to see them meet. And I don't know how to describe this phenomena, but my friend has said it to me once before very well. And she described it as she really loves the feeling of having a lot of people that mean something to her in one space and interacting and getting along and seeing them get along and maybe forming new friendships is such an exciting feeling. And I feel like once she said that, it really resonated with me. And that was something I recognized on my birthday celebration last year as well. And I was just like, this is so nice. And it is really cool. And it's exciting to see everybody walk away from that wanting to hang out or wanting to be like, let's do something. And again, I am just piss poor at planning. Like, I'm not good at it. So I just don't do it. But to me, it's so exciting to see that everybody got along and had a good time and wanted to hang out. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe this year I will try for something again. I don't know because I'm going to be away and this is the first time I've ever been away for my birthday. So we'll see. Either way, it's past now, and I'm sure I had a wonderful time. So there's that. Moving along. I feel like every few birthdays there's an interesting milestone or something that every birthday should be known for. And I know like the biggest one I can think about is like a champagne birthday because that's supposedly like I believe your if your age lines up with the day of your birthday. Is that how that goes? Yes, yeah, yeah. So, okay, for me, technically it doesn't work because my champagne birthday would have been when I turned like 9 years old because my birthday's on the 9th. So that doesn't make sense. I think that's how it works, right? Your birthday date lines up with like your age. Yeah, so I don't know. If you're someone who's like you're into, you know, popping a champagne bottle every now and then. I don't know if if that's your thing, but if that's something that sticks out to you and you enjoy doing that, then it's probably best that that lands on like your 19th, 20th, 21st, whatever birthday, depending on where you're from. It probably works out better that way. For me, it was when I turned 9. But yeah, I don't really know what 29 is known for or what 29 is supposed to signify. So I decided to Google what's so special about turning 29. And I guess an interesting fact here that I could drop is that it actually takes Saturn 29 years to orbit the sun. So, while I feel badass hearing that and reading about that, I also don't because if you watched the last episode of Trying Times, which was also a video episode, if you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. In the last episode, I briefly mentioned this term, which you may be familiar with, called a Saturn return. And while it's so exciting to read that it takes Saturn 29 years to orbit the sun, go do a little Google on what a Saturn return is because it's not necessarily a bad thing. But all I can say is it feels like I'm going through it. And it feels a little bit like a lot of my friends around me who are my age are too going through it because it's this moment in time that signifies a lot of transformational changes in your life and not just in one sector, but like literally everywhere. And it's supposedly this time where a lot of people feel drawn or called to really understand their life's purpose and their meaning, which is not a really light task when you think about it. That's a pretty heavy thing. So, yeah, while I want to feel pretty badass about the fact that I'm 29 and, it took Saturn 29 years to orbit the sun, I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm being honest. I don't know if I'm really on board with that, but putting this in a better way would really shift the way I'm probably looking at this right now. So I will try to do that. But this year is supposedly known for a whole lot of self-discovery and personal milestones, again, in all sort of facets of life. It doesn't just have to be one thing. And I think that that's pretty special. Again, aside from inching slowly towards 30, which when I've been 20 for what feels like a majority of my life now, feels daunting, but I'm excited for a lot of change and for a lot of milestones and self-discovery. I feel like that's honestly one of the best things about growing up is just a whole lot of self-discovery. And I feel like the self-discovery you have in your 20s is very pivotal. I read somewhere once where Your 20s are kind of like your teen years of your adult years. It's like your first trial run at being an adult. So you don't really know what you're doing. You're kind of figure everything out. Like you're trying to, understand what's going on around you. And a lot of the time things don't make sense. And it's for a reason that it doesn't make sense because you're supposed to just be kind of experimenting and learning and beginning to understand a lot of the things around you. And while it feels a lot like from teen years to 20, like you're already learning and I'm trying to understand so much, your 20s really are just meant for that. And it's kind of interesting looking back at my 20s now. I've always been someone who's been a little bit rough, like, or a little bit tough on myself and a little bit quick to judge or be a little critical with myself. And I'm just looking back at it now and I'm like, oh my God, there were so many things where I really just, I did not give myself the easiest route or necessarily make things easier for myself. Or if things were already hard, I was surely not making it any easier on myself. And I think that was just out of a place of care, maybe out of motivation, maybe out of like discipline. I don't know. But it is really interesting to think about that now and just think like, I spent a lot of my 20s being really, really mean to myself. And again, it's kind of like I said, the teen years of your adulthood, if you will. So 30 is supposedly this time where you kind of start to open up and be a little bit more, I guess, accepting towards yourself, a little bit more patient with yourself, and a little bit more just aware of what it is that you want, what it is that you're trying to achieve, what it is that maybe you want to achieve. All the things kind of start clicking into place a little bit. And that's not to say like I'm going to turn 30 and everything's going to make sense and I'm going to feel great and everything's going to be good. Absolutely not. It's just a means of saying things might feel a little bit more chill than they did at 20 because I'm a little bit more sure of myself. I'm a little bit more confident in myself. I'm a little bit more capable and a little bit more confident in my capabilities. Like, it's just a lot of things that you learn. You're taking it all. It's really like building a toolkit in a sense. It's like you spend so much of your 20s filling up a toolkit that's like empty, and that's how you go and handle your 30s. And I feel like as you get older and older with time, you're just slowly filling your toolkit with more tools from all the experiences that you've had and from everything that you've learned or things that you're beginning to understand. And maybe that's in the way that you read the world. Maybe that's in the way that you interact with people. Maybe it's in the way that you interact with yourself or the way that you learn to care for yourself or care for others or both. It could be really anything. I think that's really special. With all that said, I just rambled so much. I thought about sharing some things that I've learned so far in the past year because, again, I guess these are things that could be considered tools in my toolkit. And sometimes these things really hit hard, and other times I'm like, ugh, I know I should be aware and understanding of this, and I know better, and I know this. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Sometimes it doesn't hit, and that's okay too. That's fine. But I will start with the very first one here, and this is a big one, and I think a lot of people in their 20s might struggle with this. But people pleasing, I hate that concept. It's terrible. But it is something, unfortunately, a lot of us are conditioned to do. And on the other hand, you can argue that you will meet a lot of people that probably do not know what this concept is and will never know. And in some way, I can say I'm not envious of those people, but I wonder how that feels. I want to know what that feels like to just not give a crap ever. Because I mean, I give a crap a lot of the time, and I think a lot of people do. And the one thing I will say that I've learned is that this is not something that will actually help you in the long run. It's the truth. I'm sorry. Sorry to say it. I think a lot of us are conditioned to feel this way a lot of the time, and maybe not just at home or not just at school or not just at work, but in all environments that we really enter when you think about it. And it's unfortunately the hard truth. It is very much the hard truth where it's not something that is going to actually help you grow in the future because people pleasing a lot of the time, from my understanding and my experience, can come from really suppressing yourself or your thoughts or your wants or your needs in all kinds of capacities. And over time, that can start to actually have horrible effects on you internally, like in terms of not just obviously wanting to voice your opinion or feeling feelings that you're maybe having or were having, but more so in the sense of your confidence gets shot because you're not sharing things that you want to share and you don't feel as though you're allowed to share things. So, yeah, people pleasing in itself, to me in a nutshell, is something that can really, really force you to suppress so much of yourself. And yeah, unfortunately, it's not something that helps in the long run. I think in certain situations, people pleasing and just, saying something, let's say you're, I don't know why this is popping into my head. Let's say you're in a store, in a grocery store. Sometimes people in grocery stores get pissed. Sometimes they start arguing. I don't know. If someone's in front of you and they're just complaining about whatever, the fact that they have to stand there and wait as long as they're waiting or whatever, I'm not going to be like, hey, shut up. Like, stop saying that. No, because I'm not trying to get dragged into that. Instead, what I will do is I will just go, and that's it. That's my people pleasing. I'm not saying that that's all I do. It's not, but that's the only example I could think of in my head. There's certain situations where, yeah, people pleasing might just be like a simple nod or whatever. And so long as you're not hurting somebody or, causing harm to anyone, then maybe like I guess it can pass it. Like that's the only instance I can think of. But in situations like in your career, if you're at a workplace and you worked really hard on something and someone else is taking credit for it, but you don't want to ruffle any feathers, so you simply sit back and agree and nod, that's a situation where people pleasing could actually be suffocating more than anything. So, yeah, there's that. Another hard truth, sometimes growth might not include people that you always thought would be around. We will repeat that one more time. Sometimes growth will not include people that you always thought would be around. And that one sucks. That one hurts. That one stings. It's all the not fun things. Now I'm rhyming. And yeah, like I said, it hurts, but it's necessary sometimes. I think different people have different ways of looking at this within their own lives. Some people refer to it in a little bit more of a straightforward way, if you will, of shedding dead weight. Some people will look at it as a sense of, you know, maybe letting go of one thing can open doors to other things, whether that's opportunities, whether that's experiences, whether that's new relationships or different relationships. It's something that just kind of happens in life. And as much as it sucks, it is necessary sometimes. And I can honestly say, I've had a fair share of friendship breakups in my life. I will put it that way, or platonic breakups. And it sucks. It's not fun. It's not something I would say I would recommend doing. But of course, sometimes in certain relationships, there comes a time where maybe you and another person don't really agree on things anymore. And let me put this out here. I think it's really important to not agree on every single thing all the time because that's not providing any growth for you. When I say sometimes maybe you guys don't agree on things anymore, it could come to a point where maybe some things are just fading, some things aren't good, and you find that there's not really a fix for it, or sometimes maybe things just aren't really or getting better, or maybe things are getting worse and you're trying to do something to help and it doesn't really help. I don't know. There's like really so many different ways that this could happen, or sometimes maybe things just fall out and that happens too. I've experienced that and it's rough, but at the same time, if it's meant to happen at that time, it's meant to happen at that time. And that's really all you can do with that. I think more often than not, it's really easy to look back on these situations and later on be able to reflect and understand why something might not be working, or look back and reflect on why something maybe wasn't able to continue growing, because that happens at some points in time. And you can't really get mad at yourself for that or at another person for that. Sometimes relationships run their course and that just is what it is. And you can't be upset at yourself for that or another person because it just works that way, I guess. So again, that one hurts, but it's necessary sometimes. Okay, so I technically have three more points, so I'll start to speed run through these a little bit more, I guess. But the third one is that growth usually feels uncomfortable. So I will say, not always, but like 95% of the time, trying anything different, meeting new people, having new experiences, moving, whatever you can think of, all of this will oftentimes come with a small feeling of discomfort or a small feeling of uneasiness. And I don't say this in the sense of like, oh my God, this hurts, this is terrible. I mean it in the sense of like, that could be nervousness, that could be anxiety, it could be maybe high expectations or feeling disappointed by actually seeing something that didn't match up with that. But growth in all kinds of ways usually feels uncomfortable because it is taking you out of what you know and pretty much everything you know or all you know, and putting you into a new situation, which is not meant to be easy. And this sounds probably a little bit straightforward and kind of like, okay, yeah, I know that. Why are you telling me that? Because I think in my 20s, I have tried out different things where I've put myself in new environments that I've never been in before, and I've pushed myself to try and try again, even if it feels uncomfortable. And at a point, I think when you try certain things, it's like, and again, this could be like new experiences in terms of travel. This could be new relationships. This could be maybe, solo travel or solo experiences, like learning really to spend time with yourself. This could be your career. It could be anything. There have been certain situations where sometimes I'm like, if I'm uncomfortable, let me try once more. Let me try two more times. And if I'm still really uncomfortable, then I'll be like, okay, I'll let up because this isn't for me. But there are other situations where sometimes you'll try something once and you'll be like, I know that wasn't for me. That was too much. I think it's important, though, to give yourself the chance to try something more than once and to see how you truly feel and to see how you might thrive or flourish in a new environment. And sometimes maybe you won't. And that's okay, too, because you still gave yourself that chance and you still really like betted on yourself. Is that the way you put that? You still tried to bet on yourself. I think that's better. So there's that. The next thing I will say goes hand in hand with the idea of growth feeling uncomfortable. It's okay to restart. Whatever this is, very similar to what I said just now about sometimes maybe you'll try something once, twice, three times, maybe four times, maybe 10 times. And you'll be like, dang, I just don't, this is not clicking. This is not right. I don't know what it is. Something just doesn't feel right for me here. It's okay to restart. It's okay to understand that you didn't waste time. And it's okay to understand that you still tried your best. And that doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're simply running away, or it doesn't mean that you're just giving up. It means that you tried something and you tried your best. And sometimes I like to remind myself that sometimes if something's not working out, it usually means that there could be a greater lesson at hand or that things aren't working out for a very specific reason. And what that reason is, I don't know. Like, I can't, certain things you go through, you might not be able to understand and you might not know until you reflect back like years later. And then you might reflect back and be like, checks out. I get now why that wasn't working for me. I get that now. Or sometimes when you're so close to a situation, it's so easy to be like, oh my God, I want this so bad. Why is nothing working? Why does this feel awful? What is going on? It's just because you're right in it and it's hard to see that. Look back at it a few years later and you'll probably be like, oh my God, yeah, there was X, Y, Z. Like, no wonder this wasn't working out. No wonder I was miserable. You just got to give yourself that time. The very last lesson I will share that I learned in my 20s is that understanding your own values will help you feel more concrete in your identity and in yourself as a whole, which is so important. And what I mean by this is that you will meet a lot of people, you will go through a lot of experiences, and it can be really, really easy to get lost in it all. And if something feels off, that's usually for a reason. And it's really important, I think, in those instances to listen to your gut and to listen to what your body might be trying to tell you. Now, I understand sometimes maybe if you're like me and you have anxiety or you get nervous, sometimes maybe our body can send us a little bit of mixed signals and we're kind of like, am I just nervous or is there something actually off? Like, is there something I should be aware of? Just listen to your body. I think a lot of the time we don't realize our bodies will tell us things that maybe we can't fully understand in that moment. And that sounds very like woo woo and kind of weird, probably, but for those that get that, you get it. And I feel like it's something that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, as easy as it is to get lost in so many things, just stay true to yourself, stay true to your morals, stay true to your principles, whatever it is that you stand by, whatever it is that you abide by. I think it's really important to hold those values close to your heart and to stay true to that because that is a great way to not get swept up and lose yourself. So, those are some of my lessons I learned in my 20s, and I still have one whole year left. So, let's see what I learn. Let's see what I learned by next year. Usually, what I like to do next is do some audience participation. As I mentioned in every single episode, I like to do audience participation, or sometimes I like to go and look at Reddit threads and see what people are saying. So, for this one specifically, I went to a thread where somebody asked basically, how do you all feel about being 29? And for some context, funny enough, this person turned 29 in July as well. They wrote, I turned 29 in July. It was actually the best birthday I've ever had. I spent my morning out at sea watching massive humpback whales spouting and diving all around me and calves breaching in the distance. That sounds honestly like insane in the best way possible. Couldn't have asked for much more, but I am liking this age so far. I realized I am the same age as Sigourney Weaver. Okay, I know I'm saying her name wrong. I'm sorry. As she was when Alien came out, my favorite film. If it wasn't obvious, lol. I decided to dress up as Fran Fine from The Nanny for Halloween since her whole shtick was how she was 29 for years, lol. So far, I dig this age. Still look young as hell, can pass for early 20s still, but old enough that people take me seriously when I realize I am not fresh off the block. I will welcome 30 when it arrives, but it can take its time, lol, especially next summer. I had enough of the heat until next June, no rushing. I just thought that was so sweet, and I thought that that was such a nice post because I feel like that's very encompassing of how turning older can feel sometimes. And it's not necessarily ever a bad thing, but as we get older, I feel like it's just very daunting. So there were a lot of answers here that people provided, and I specifically chose three that I want to share. So someone responded and they said, I'm 29 and my 30th birthday is in 3 months. I feel like I'm not quite where I should be in life. So for the past few months, I have been experiencing my version of a quarter life crisis. Oof. I've never cared about milestone birthdays until now because it feels like a huge life deadline or something, which I think a lot of people hold that around 30 as well. Discussing these worries in therapy has helped. I know in a few years I'll look back and laugh at myself for being this worried about turning 30 with nothing to show for it. And the original poster responded, said, I feel, yeah, I've crossed a lot of great milestones, but the main thing is I always wanted to have kids before turning 30. Hopefully we can have kids within the next few years. We want a big family, but the older you get, the less energy you have. Also, I don't have the career I really want, but it is not an easy career to get into anyways. My husband just started his dream career and I'm excited for him. I just hope I get to eventually. So again, I feel like sometimes looking at these kinds of posts is very nice because I feel like it's just reminding you this is a very human experience we're all going through. We're all living through this together. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes things are not where you want them to be. And that's not necessarily, it may not feel great, but it's not a bad thing to not have things figured out all of the time. So, another answer I really liked was somebody saying, 30s are way better than your 20s. You let go of a lot of bullshit. You're more confident in not letting people take advantage of you. You're better at handling conflict, and you have more money than you did in your 20s and start to enjoy life more instead of grinding at work that doesn't pay off. I'm sorry if you heard my dog yawning in the background. The original poster responded and said, Here, here. If I can say one good thing about the pandemic, it made me less tolerant of BS since I had to enforce COVID rules at my job, including masking and capacity limits. I'm far less hesitant to let someone walk all over me now. But yeah, again, that sort of a comment is something I hear a lot with 30. You just start to let go of bullshit and you don't care anymore. And every time someone says that to me, I'm like, I can't wait. I can't wait. But this is my very last answer I'll share here and my favorite, I will say. Someone simply wrote, I had a minor crisis about turning 30 when I was 29, but then I just got the fuck over it and moved on with life. That's beautiful. That's a great answer, truly. I think that that's honestly all it is, and that's all it needs to be. Like with any other age, we're getting older, you're learning more. I look at it as a great way to remind myself that I'm living and learning and getting to do so much, and it's really easy to often overlook that. So, but yeah, I just rambled a whole lot about birthdays and a whole lot about turning 29. For somebody who's not peeved about it, I probably seem peeved about it, but I am not. I'm actually excited. I think it's a fresh start. I think every year as your birthday passes, it's an opportunity for a fresh start or a little bit of transformation in your life. And it's a great thing. It's exciting. And yeah, so basically, for anyone listening to this, if you're in your 20s, just listen to your gut. Really believe in yourself, believe in your values, whatever those may be. Stay true to those and don't let anyone change that for you. Sounds very cheesy, sounds very cliche, but genuinely, I think that that's probably the best thing that I could have been told. And I think going into your 30s is an exciting thing, and I'm excited. Don't really have a choice, it's right there. It's coming up. I don't have a choice, so I'm choosing to welcome it with open arms. We'll see how I feel next year if I do a birthday episode again. But in all seriousness, yeah, if you're in your 20s at any point in time, know that things change, know that things will feel uncomfortable, know that you'll probably feel uncomfortable, and remind yourself you're pretty much like a tween. I hate that term, but you're basically like the teen of adults. You're in your teenage years of adulthood, and it's meant to be uncomfortable and feel weird and feel kind of icky. So, yeah. That's all I can say about 20s, and I'm so excited I get one more year to really feel that. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sitting with me and hanging out. I really hope whenever you're listening to this that it's been a good day or a good night, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this, really. I hope it's going good. and I appreciate you, and I cannot thank you enough for spending time with me. If you want to chat a little bit more, please feel free to message me on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you have any insight from your 20s or your 30s or whenever, send that my way. I would love to hear more because I think it's really easy sometimes to forget other people are experiencing life at the same time as we are. And it's really easy to just kind of be so sucked into your own life. So if you have any insight on what your experience has been like and things that you've learned, please feel free to send that to me because I would love to read that and hear more from you. If you ever want to answer any prompts, please feel free to go to, again, the Trying Times Instagram and click on the link in bio. There's a Google form there that you can actually fill out that has a bunch of different prompts that you can answer to be featured in an episode in the future. And I will say, if there's something on there that you don't want to answer, feel free to just answer anyways and put your own prompt in, and maybe I'll put that in a future episode. So, yeah. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and being here. I really appreciate you, and we'll chat again soon, okay? Bye.